Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the annual Brady Action Awards. I'm Joy Reid, and I'll be your host for this evening.
Second mass shooting in less than a week in this country.
We need to save the 100 lives a day that are ended by gun violence.
This is not and should not be a partisan issue. This is an American issue.
I support the Brady bill, and I urge the Congress to enact.
This is wanted by a bipartisan majority of Americans.
These are common sense basic issues.
Tonight, we gather to honor those who have used their influence, their passion, and whatever channels they have at their fingertips to move the needle and inch America one step closer to the life we all envision, a life without gun violence. Now, you'll hear us refer to the gun violence that plagues us as an epidemic, a public health crisis, a scourge, and it is indeed all of those. We'll shortly be joined by Brady's president, Kris Brown, who will explain the nature of what we face. In the meantime, I'd like to focus on the future that Brady and those being honored are working to bring about. So many of us now view our daily lives through a tactical lens. School children choose their route to school or their seat in the classroom based on the likelihood of avoiding bullets. We locate a concert hall's nearest exit before we even look at the stage. We dance, we work, we celebrate, we shop, we worship with the risk of being shot. And as we'll hear this evening, while all Americans carry this weight, communities of color, especially Black and brown ones, bear a disproportionate share of it. And the very same factors that lead Black and brown communities to suffer disproportionate gun violence, namely systemic racism, also make it easier for white Americans to overlook them. All forms of gun violence can be prevented if we treat gun violence as the public health epidemic that it is. That means combating gun violence in the hood as urgently as gun violence in the suburbs, and crafting solutions that recognize the disparate impact of gun violence on communities of color. In honoring the doers tonight, we honor those who have taken real action to tackle gun violence. And we hope in honoring each of them, we will inspire the activists of tomorrow. Activists that will address this issue on all fronts so that where you live no longer determines if you live. And now I'm proud to introduce the woman at the helm of this storied organization and one who's at the forefront of America's movement to end gun violence, Brady President Kris Brown.
Thank you, Joy. It's absolutely wonderful having you with us this evening as we honor so many who have made an incredible impact, not only for Brady, but for the gun violence prevention movement as a whole. A special thank you to our presenting sponsors, Kevin and Jane Quinn, and our gold sponsors, including the David Bonnet Foundation, Brady PAC, Citi, Covington, Peter Detkin and Michelle Oates, and Citizens United, Joseph Falk, Roberto Gonzalez and Sarah Rapawi, Ricky and Michael Helfer, Michael Dowling and Northwell Health System, Paul Weiss, and the Pritzker Military Museum and Library. Tonight, we're bringing together so many who give in so many different ways, but all for one purpose: ending gun violence. We're uniting those who use their voice, their position, their treasure, their passion, and those who channel their loss. Tonight, we are a family, and every family member brings a different dynamic and gift. We use words like trailblazer, defender, upholder, champion, and hero to describe them because they are all part of a war that no one in this country can afford to lose. We're fighting for lives free from gun violence. This war is being fought on our own soil and in every town, city, and state in our union. The majority of those living in our country firmly support common sense solutions, such as expanding Brady background checks, banning assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, and ensuring that guns can be temporarily removed from the home if the owner is in danger of harming themselves or others. So if everyone wants the war to end, why does it still rage on? Why do we still lose more than 100 Americans a day to gun violence? So many issues lie at the root of America's longest unsolved public health crisis, our gun violence epidemic. Misinformation spread by the gun lobby, misinterpretation of the Second Amendment, lack of research for gun violence prevention, the inherent racism in much of our criminal justice system, a focus on the shooter and not the supplier in America's pipeline. The list of causes is endless as this battle we're fighting. But at Brady, we work across all fronts, Congress, the courts, and our communities. And we win at each level. Sometimes it's a gain of inches, known only to those who just won an important case or passed a life-saving state or local law. Other times the nation as a whole celebrates, as we did on April 8th, when President Joe Biden announced executive actions that address community gun violence, in fact, fund more than $5 billion for community violence intervention, that address mass shootings, that address domestic violence and suicide by firearms, and regulate ghost guns finally as firearms. Truly, these are significant actions and a significant moment in our nation's history. For the first time in decades, the light at the end of the tunnel that always flickered, even in our darkest days, is burning brighter. Local warriors are no longer fighting alone. The gun violence prevention champions we've elected into state houses across the country, our nation's capital, and the White House are delivering on their promises of that safer country, and Brady is proud to be there, side by side, offering common sense, data-driven solutions. In courts, we're seeing bad actors held accountable and forced to change the way they conduct business. States and municipalities are working with Brady's Crime Guns initiative and investing in a supply-side approach to ending gun violence. Communities and individuals are discussing safe storage and looking at the roles of guns in one of America's greatest conversational taboos, suicide. So tonight is about hope, and it's about promise. It's about celebrating survivors and activists and those who have just said enough. Recently, we saw President Biden take bold steps to do what he can to change the face of gun violence in our nation. And they were indeed bold. But we need to see that same bold action taken on so many other fronts. We all need to be bold. We all need to say, here is what I can do, and I will do it. It is in that spirit of hope and promise that I am so proud to announce our special guest speaker this evening, a true warrior, hero, and inspiration to so many all across this country, including me and my two daughters, Katie and Sophia. Ladies and gentlemen, Vice President Kamala Harris.
Greetings to everyone, and to all the awardees, congratulations. To Kris Brown and everyone at the Brady campaign, thank you. Thank you for your ongoing courage. Thank you for your leadership. And thank you for tirelessly working to make every community in our country feel and be safer. You'll recall, as District Attorney of San Francisco many years ago, I worked with the Brady campaign and Brady California President Mattie Scott, whose son George died of gun violence at the age of 24. This July will mark 25 years since George died. This March marked 40 years since James Brady was shot. It is in their honor, in honor of all of those who we have lost, that we do this work. And there are 4 things we know about gun violence in America. First, we know what's at stake. The lives of people like George and James, like the 8 people killed in Georgia, like the 10 people killed in Colorado, the Black and brown men killed in city neighborhoods every day, and the lives of the families and friends they leave behind who are forever changed because of that loss. Second, we know that the solutions are already on the table, and we know that they are common sense. Close the loopholes on background checks, ban the sale of assault weapons. Third, we know that these solutions are supported by Americans on both sides of the aisle, and that they will save lives. And fourth, we know that Congress needs to act. I know this work seems never-ending, but in the name of all of those that we have lost, in the name of all of those who grieve for their loved ones, let us keep up the work. Keep calling on your senators and organizing and working for this safer world that we can see. And know that President Joe Biden and I stand with you. And undeterred, together, we will always stand up against gun violence. We will always stand up for what is right. We will always stand up for our communities. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, Vice President Harris. With staunch gun violence prevention champions such as you, President Biden, Speaker Pelosi, Senate Majority Leader Schumer, and so many other members of Congress, as well as state and local legislators, we know we have the right ingredients for the change we want to make happen. And speaking of ingredients, our next guest is just who we need to put the action into our awards this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, producer, author, pop culture icon, and the man who claims to have started life with a hairbrush and a dream, Andy Cohen.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so excited to be here tonight to start our festivities with creative mixology and a toast to this evening's honorees. We'll be hearing from some fabulous and dedicated people and the team at Brady about the need to take action to stop America's gun violence epidemic. And I'm beyond thrilled to get the party going as we watch what happens almost live, or at least as live as it gets in our COVID reality. So to officially kick off the Brady Action Awards ceremony, invite you all to take your first action of the evening as we craft our celebratory libation, the Red, Blue, and Brady. The drink recipe is 1.5 ounces of vodka, ½ ounce blue curacao, ½ ounce grenadine or cranberry juice, and soda water. Fill an 8-ounce glass with ice, mix the first 3 ingredients together, then fill in the soda water garnish with a lime. To make this drink non-alcoholic, don't include the vodka and replace the blue curacao with Hawaiian Punch Polar Blast. Yum! You can also replace the soda water with Sprite or 7-Up. Incidentally, Red, Blue, and Brady is also the name of Brady's fantastic podcast that you can listen to on Apple Podcasts or bradyunited.org/podcast. It's all about understanding our gun violence epidemic through the eyes of those impacted and those working for change. I suggest you check it out today. While spilling drinks is just plain sloppy, spilling tea is entirely different. But I vowed to be on my best behavior tonight and dishing about sponsors, presenters, awardees, and folks at Brady would be strictly off the table. So moving away from ingredients that go well together, let's get serious for a moment. talk about a few things that don't go well together, like alcohol and firearms, like hate and firearms, like easy access to firearms for people who are in crisis and in danger of hurting themselves or others. It's a big world, and there's room enough for us all to coexist, no matter our religion, race, gender, expression, ability, or sexual orientation. In the spirit of this evening, let's vow to take action to do just that. It's an action we all can live with. Cheers.
Thank you, Andy, and cheers. Now, as I mentioned at the start, tonight is about celebrating the doers and inspiring the activists of tomorrow. And as Kris said, this important work is happening across Congress, the courts, and communities. And our awards begin this evening by honoring those who are upholding justice, fighting not only for those directly impacted by gun violence, but to ensure the rest of us can one day live our lives without the ever-present fear of being shot. Since 1989, Brady has recognized the importance of the legal system in the battle for our country's safety. Brady Legal, along with the Brady Legal Alliance, their national network of hundreds of talented attorneys and law firms, have dedicated their expertise to help drive gun violence reform and end America's gun violence epidemic. Joining us this evening to present the Brady Legal Action Award is the 82nd Attorney General of the United States, Eric Holder. Throughout his career, Mr. Holder has served as a prosecutor, a judge, and the U.S. Attorney General for D.C. In that role, Mr. Holder spearheaded several operations that support gun violence prevention, including originating a domestic violence unit and developing Operation Ceasefire. Then, having been appointed by Barack Obama, Mr. Holder became the longest-serving Attorney General of the United States and the first Black American to hold the position. After his tenure as Attorney General, Mr. Holder returned to private practice as a partner at Covington & Burling, recipient of last year's Legal Action Award and one of Brady's most faithful law firm partners as part of the Brady Legal Alliance. Ladies and gentlemen, Eric Holder.
Welcome to this evening's first award presentation. It is my privilege to confer tonight's Brady Legal Action Award to Brady's Chief Counsel and Vice President of Legal, John Lowy. You know, at our best, lawyers are foot soldiers in the fight for justice, dedicated to our most fundamental principles and devoted to our highest ideals. John Lowy is precisely that type of lawyer. For more than 2 decades, John has served at the forefront of the gun violence prevention movement, pioneering new litigation strategies and innovative approaches. He's provided free legal representation to people whose lives have been forever altered by irresponsible gun manufacturers, distributors, and dealers. And over the course of his career, he's taken on groundbreaking cases, not only to attain justice for victims and survivors, but to reform the gun industry and to protect us all. Those efforts have had a real impact. In Pennsylvania, a gun store that was complicit in a straw purchase leading to the death of Officer Brad Fox agreed to significant business reforms that will prevent further tragedies. In Oregon, a pawn shop whose actions facilitated the brutal murder of Kristen England agreed to a financial settlement with Kristen's estate and changes in their operations that will keep other people safe. In states across the country, John's work has produced countless results like these: court cases that provide closure, comfort, and ongoing benefit to communities from coast to coast. Now, while those cases are admirable, his work has reached far beyond securing compensation and reform. John's work has literally changed the law. He has argued cases that have pushed courts to establish new legal precedents, explicitly requiring gun dealers to use the highest standard of care or face real and substantial consequences. He has assisted state governments and public officials in their efforts to defend important gun safety laws across the country. And he's published numerous articles on gun litigation and policy that lay a foundation for the law, including the right not to be shot, public safety, private guns, and the constellation of constitutional liberties in the Georgetown Journal of Law and Policy. Now, as a result of all of this, John has been recognized not only as the go-to expert on gun industry reform litigation, but also as one of the most highly effective lawyers working today, a reputation that has earned him a well-deserved place among Law Dragon 500. Because even when public enthusiasm waned or Congress got stuck or administrations had other priorities, John has continued to plug away at his life-saving work. Now, that's my definition of taking action. and it is the reason why we are gathered here today to pay tribute to this extraordinary public servant. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to present this year's Brady Legal Action Award to John Lowy. Congratulations on this richly deserved honor, Counselor. You deserve it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Attorney General. This is amazing. It's especially meaningful to receive this award from you, a true legend who has shown the public good that can be done through legal action. I see that among the honorees and speakers here tonight, we have winners of NBA titles, Emmys, Tonys, a Mr. Universe, and hopefully soon a Nobel Peace Prize. For some reason, I don't think I'm pulling my weight. But seriously, for me, there could not be a higher honor than the Brady Legal Action Award. That's because I know that no public interest organization in America has done more to save lives over the past half century than Brady, and we continue to be the most effective. Everything we do at Brady is a team effort. So this award really goes to our tremendous legal team: Aaron Davis, Kelly Sampson, Krista Nichols, Rob Cross, Jenny Kim, and Tom Lane. And to the entire amazing staff at Brady, up to the best president Brady has ever had, our remarkable and inspiring leader, Kris Brown. We could not be half as effective without the lawyers and law firms who partner with us and support us, several of whom are sponsors of this event. I can't thank them enough. And we stand on the shoulders of past Brady staff, especially the brilliant Denny Hennigan, who started Brady Legal over 30 years ago. When Denny interviewed me almost 25 years ago, he told me that my job was to go to court to take on an industry that was the greatest threat to public safety in America and was backed by the most politically powerful lobby, what Jim Brady called the evil empire. That summed up what we do pretty well, and it remains an irresistible combination. But we've proven over and over that we can beat the gun lobby in court, even when they gain special protections that no one else in America gets and are aided by an increasingly hostile judiciary. With every victory, we save lives. But the people most deserving of this award are our clients. These men and women have been robbed of their mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers, husbands and wives, children, all due to gun violence that is entirely preventable. Their tragedies are more than anyone should have to endure. But they channel their grief into action to bring high impact lawsuits with Brady. They are true heroes. It is an honor to give them a voice for change. I keep photos of many of them in my office because they inspire me every day. I could tell you stories about every one. Every photo is an image frozen in time that gives a glimpse of an extraordinary life that was cut short because of a loophole in the law or a gun manufacturer or dealer who put people over profits. The real tragedy, of course, is something the photos can't capture. That's who they would have become. The unrealized potential and experiences that were taken away from them, their family, friends, and all of us really, because of preventable gun violence. While every one of these stories is tragic, they are also uplifting. Because of our work together, we make it more likely that other families are spared the tragedy our clients suffer. Our cases have forced gun companies to make and sell guns more responsibly beyond what is required in any state. We have upheld laws that keep guns out of the wrong hands. We've struck down gun lobby laws that would make America more dangerous. And many survivors find purpose for our work together. Finally, this award goes to all of you, our supporters. Without you, our work at Brady would not be possible. So thank you so much for your support and for this award. I look forward to working with you all for many more years, making America the safe and just country we all deserve. Thank you.
Please welcome gun violence survivor and Vice President of Organizing at Brady, Maisha Fields.
Thank you all for being here this evening. What an exciting night. I, for one, am honored and privileged to be amongst so many change agents who have been a part of this movement of ending gun violence in our lifetime. It's an honor and a privilege that I have the opportunity to do that as the new Vice President of Organizing for Brady alongside of John Lowy. I appreciate your work. I appreciate your steadfastness towards ending gun violence and making sure that justice is a part of the process. In this work, oftentimes we learn about and we hear about survivors, people who have experienced gun violence as survivors, but also victims. And there's someone who I was just recently introduced to who is a true warrior. He's not just a warrior because he is the coach. I'm talking about the coach for the Golden State Warriors and helping them accomplish multiple championships. But he's a warrior because he has experienced gun violence himself. His father was killed by the Islamic Jihad on January 18th of 1984. His father was 52 years old. And at that time, Coach Kerr was only 18 years old. He was a freshman in college. Right after his father's death, he said, "Before my father was killed, my life was impenetrable. Bad things happened to other people." Since that time, Coach Kerr has been a warrior to end gun violence and to make gun violence a public health issue, which means that we say the names of those who are lost. Those who are lost, brothers, sisters, fathers, mothers, cousins, nieces, our neighbors, the children who sit in classrooms with our kids and our loved ones. He has made sure that they get recognition in just saying their names. He's made it an effort and a priority to make sure that we humanize how we talk about gun violence in this country. I honor his work. As a survivor myself, so oftentimes after the death of your loved one, the media will talk about your story for 16 seconds and then move on. But we, as victims and as survivors, struggle to put the pieces back together, struggle to redefine normal, struggle to get other people to remember the names of our loved ones. And through Coach Kerr's efforts, through his advocacy, he has used his power, his position, and his authority to make sure that everyone who hears his voice knows about what they can do to end gun violence, that they know about the people within their communities who have been impacted. So thank you, Coach Kerr, for being on the front lines of the basketball court, but also being on the front lines for the stories of victims and survivors who have been traumatized and gravely impacted by gun violence. Through your voice, through your advocacy, we are stronger, we are better, we are more united, and we will end gun violence together. Thank you so much, and congratulations on your award.
Thank you, Maisha, and thank you, Brady, for this Advocate Action Award. To be recognized as an advocate for doing what is so important to me and my family seems superfluous. It's almost like receiving an award for breathing, because that's how much a part of me raising my voice against gun violence has become. My father, Malcolm Kerr, was president of the American University of Beirut. He was murdered by terrorists in Beirut, Lebanon, when I was just 18 years old and a freshman at the University of Arizona. January 18th, 1984 is a day my family will never forget. It's the day we were all initiated into the club that no one wants to be a part of, the Survivors Club. It's a club that's growing as the death toll from gun violence in our country rises and the numbers soar to epidemic proportions. Gun violence in our country is a public health crisis, and one that requires swift and immediate action if we're ever going to see it end. I'm proud to be one of those taking action, and I hope that I inspire others to do the same. But one voice can only do so much. Just as I've always spoken out when I had the chance, I'll use this time today to urge everyone to use whatever resources they have and join the fight. Working alongside Brady, we know we're presenting common sense solutions to a problem none of us can live with. Let's all take action, not sides. Let's do it not only for those we've lost, but so we can lock the doors forever to the Survivors Club. Thank you.
Congratulations, Coach Kerr. That's a worthy addition to your trophy case, which might need some structural support if my last trophy count was right. Some organizations make change happen by their work at the national level. Others pride themselves on what they accomplish locally. The true change makers realize that the halls of power lie in Capitol rotundas, as well as in school gymnasiums, and that many of the powerful never hold illustrious titles. Grassroots leaders are capable of enormous groundswells that rock foundations embedded in injustice and decades of status quo. Here with us to present the Brady Grassroots Action Award is Brady Chairman Kevin Quinn. Kevin has served as Brady's chairman during a remarkable time of growth and momentum for the gun violence prevention movement. At every step, he has stewarded the board and Brady to focus on their mission, incubate new and potentially transformative ideas, and define a course that will have the impact we all seek to save lives tragically lost to the epidemic of gun violence. As Brady President Kris Brown said, Kevin is measured but passionate, extremely strategic, but unafraid to take calculated risks, pragmatic, but full of heart. Kevin, as a Brady leader full of heart, it's only fitting that you present this award to another leader who personifies the heart of Brady, our Grassroots Action Awardee.
Never underestimate the power of dreams and the influence of the human spirit. This quote from the indomitable Olympian Wilma Rudolph exemplifies the equally indomitable Brady, California State President and recipient of the Brady Grassroots Action Award, Mattie Scott. Good evening, I'm Kevin Quinn, board chair of Brady. Just like Sarah and Jim, Brady is the summation of aspiration, dedication, and passionate inspiration. These traits epitomize our grassroots members and leaders. Mattie has been singled out tonight among the thousands of Brady supporters because she is that rare combination of dreamer and doer. As she'll share, she's been inspired by great personal loss, but throughout that pain, her spirit shines through with a power that inspires healing. The Brady Grassroots Action Award is presented to the person within Brady's grassroots network who personifies the work of Jim and Sarah Brady and leaves no stone unturned to ending the gun violence epidemic that plagues our nation. Mattie has been recognized not just by Brady, but by Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi for these efforts as well. Speaker Pelosi has invited Mattie as her guest to several State of the Union speeches and nominated Mattie last year as an elector to represent the state of California in the presidential election. Mattie, throughout the years I've been with Brady, I've had the honor to work with many individuals who are driven to end our gun violence epidemic. And I always especially admire those who can turn aside their own grief to make that commitment. Having lost a son to gun violence 24 years ago, Mattie has dedicated herself to eradicating this shameful American plague. She is always there for other grieving parents and families. Hope and progress are her guiding lights. Mattie, it is with the greatest respect that I award you one of Brady's highest honors, the Grassroots Action Award. While Jim and Sarah cannot present this award to you, we know that they reside in your heart. Congratulations, Mattie. You are an inspiration to all of us.
Thank you, God, for bringing me out of darkness into the marvelous light, for navigating my pain into purpose in this work. Thank you so much, Kevin, for your kind words. And thank you, Brady, for giving me this award. Thank you to my children, Ron and Rontonette, my new great-grandchildren, Celia and Mara, and all my grandchildren for allowing me to do this work. And thank you to my mother, Dorothy McMullen, who's going to be 99 this year, for helping me get through the worst pain of my life. I have dedicated my life to gun violence prevention, intervention, and education around the issue, trying to bring healing to the pain it always leaves behind. This past March 13, a reporter asked Breonna Taylor's mother, Tamika Palmer, how she felt on the anniversary of her daughter's death. Tamika said, you know, every day is March 13th for me. And it's so true. You never get over losing a child. You never get over the fact that you created life only to have another person to end it. My son, George C. Scott, was only 24 years old when he was shot and killed July 17, 1996. This year would be the 25th year anniversary of his death, and it remains unsolved. He has now been gone from this earth longer than he was on it. Something I'm having a hard time grasping. George was attending a neighbor's graduation party. A graduation party is supposed to be a time for hope, joy, and thinking of the life ahead of us and college. George's son, Gabriel, and Karan were 2 and 5 at the time. I will never forget the call I had to make on the next day after the shooting on Gabriel's 6th birthday, because I knew he was waiting on his father's call. The scream I heard on that phone is what wakes me up every single day to help another mother. You can let tragedy numb you, or you can fight it spreading to others. I'm a fighter. That's why I'm so relentless in what I do. Brady has done so much good, helping pass nearly 83 bills over 14 years. But as long as we live in the fear of gun violence, and as long as mothers and fathers and young people still suffer the most inconceivable loss, our work is nowhere near done. We need to stop the killing and start the healing, because this is about all of us or none of us. Thank you, President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris, for the recent actions you took in support of gun violence prevention. I want to thank our champion, who courageously supports Brady and Healing for Our Families in Our Nation and common sense gun violence prevention on every level. Our fierce leader, Congresswoman, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Thank you for all you do. This award is for every mother, every father, every young person that have been impacted by senseless gun violence, and every volunteer and organization and all of our collaborative partners. United Players, Mothers in Charge, Healing for Our Families in Our Nation. We will continue doing this work. Sojourner Truth Foster Family Service Agency. Thank you, Alma Jackson, for keeping me and holding me. Thank you, everyone. for your support. And to all our awardees, thank you for your services.
Please welcome founder and chair of the Pritzker Military Museum and Library, Colonel Jennifer Pritzker.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jennifer Pritzker, President and CEO of Tawani Enterprises, Inc., retired Lieutenant Colonel of the U.S. Army, founder and chairwoman of the Pritzker Military Museum and Library, Colonel of the Illinois National Guard, and member of the LGBT community. I am also a member of the NRA, and like Brady, I believe that with gun ownership comes great responsibility. Like the award I'm sponsoring this evening, I too believe in taking action, not sides, particularly around ending gun violence in our country. As an avid gun collector and former service person, safe gun storage has always been a necessary way of life. Whether we agree or not on the role of weapons play in our world, we can all agree that there are places they do not belong and people who should not have access. To end our gun violence in our country, we must work together. As you've heard throughout the night, it's about taking action, not sides. Of all the awards being presented this evening, this one spoke to me. Taking action, not sides, means not only having the courage of conviction, but also in doing what's right and what's best for all, even though it might come at personal cost. I'm proud to introduce our next speaker, Senator Alex Padilla, who will be presenting Brady's Take Action, Not Sides Award this evening to former Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel Pritzker, so much for your kind introduction. I'm so pleased to join the speakers tonight, and especially proud to have Vice President Kamala Harris join this tribute to gun violence prevention champions. As Colonel Pritzker mentioned, we must take action if our country is going to stop the horrors of gun violence. We must take action as if our lives depend on it, because they do. We are seeing gun violence on our streets, in our houses of worship, at music festivals, in schools, shopping malls, and even when shopping at the grocery store to feed our families. We're left wondering, where are we safe? But it doesn't have to be that way. Jim and Sarah Brady were able to achieve what feels improbable today. They gained bipartisan support for common sense gun safety measures despite fierce opposition from the gun lobby. But after major federal legislative victories in the 1990s, progress on gun safety came to a halt. As pressure from the gun lobby intensified, many candidates feared campaigning on gun safety or voting for reform. But there were some elected officials who refused to accept that our fate was sealed. California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger was never fearful of bipartisan action. In fact, he embraced it. And he embraced common sense solutions to make our state and our nation safer. He made California a leader in combating gun violence when he signed the first in the nation ban on powerful .50 caliber long-range rifles. These military-style firearms were a danger to the public safety and a threat to our national security if they fell into the wrong hands. Brady, California also joined Governor Schwarzenegger as he signed a law requiring innovative micro-stamping of semi-automatic pistols sold in California, improving law enforcement's ability to trace these weapons. Governor Schwarzenegger has spoken openly through the years in support of the Brady Law, closing the gun show loophole, and in favor of an assault weapons ban. The community I grew up in and represented on the Los Angeles City Council and in California State Senate is no stranger to gun violence. This issue is personal for me. It's a matter of life and death for too many Americans, and it should transcend partisanship. Governor Schwarzenegger was unafraid to work across party lines to pass meaningful legislation to keep our communities safer from gun violence. And so I'm proud to present Brady's Take Action, Not Sides Award to the 38th Governor of California, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Good evening, and thank you, Senator Padilla. You know, I'm so proud to call you my friend, and even prouder of the important work that we have done together on issues that have to do with gun violence prevention. I mean, you were really fantastic to work with, I have to say. I think everyone should know that you're one of those rare cases that is not looking at issues kind of like a party issue, but as people's issues. That's what I loved about you, and that's why I loved working with you. Also, a big thank you goes to Colonel Jennifer Pritzker for your bravery and service and leadership throughout the years. I mean, you are fantastic. I think the world of you. I mean, as Colonel Pritzker mentioned, we need to take action, not sides, if we want to end gun violence or any of the other pressing issues that we are facing today. And I'm proud to accept this Take Action, Not Side award. Now, like many of you, and like many others, I came to this country to pursue my dreams and experience the freedom and the opportunity in America here. And let me tell you something, when I came here, I was received with open arms, and I saw that this is really, truly the greatest country in the world. But at the same time, I think it is important to fight for America to be also the safest place in the world, not just the greatest country. No American should have to worry about experiencing gun violence when they're stepping out of their homes. Come on, we can do better than that. And that shouldn't be a partisan issue either. Support for universal background checks is almost at 90%. That's right. No matter where you take a poll, 90% of the people say, yes, we should have universal background checks. But still, Congress does nothing. And sadly, that's the story for every serious policy proposal. It doesn't matter what it is. I mean, for how many decades have they promised us immigration reform? Nothing. For how many years have they talked about they're going to rebuild America and the infrastructure? Nothing. Taking down the debt. We're now at $26 trillion. Nothing. Or stopping gerrymandering. Or having a coherent kind of a environmental policy. Nothing. So I'm sick of this partisan gridlock. And we need to rise up and to demand American solutions from Washington, D.C. That's right, American solutions. Not Republican solutions, not Democratic solutions, but American solutions. Which means that I want both of the parties to work together and serve the people. We need to come together as Americans and demand that our members of Congress get out of their ideological corners and realize that we are paying them. That's right, we are paying them. So therefore, we are the boss. And they need to remember that the paycheck does not come from the Democratic Party. That the paycheck doesn't come from the Republican Party. The paycheck comes from us, from the taxpayers. So that's why I always say to you, don't be a party servant. Be a public servant, because it is us that is paying you. It costs us $2.8 billion every year to run this Capitol. So the least thing you can do is go and do the people's work. So anyway, let's continue the good fight towards a more prosperous and free nation. Let's be a country of action. Now in closing, I would like to thank the Brady Center for this great honor. And thank you all for joining us here tonight for taking action, not sides, in a battle for a better and safer America. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. Here to award our Ambassador Action Award this evening, please join me in welcoming a staunch gun violence prevention champion, Senator Edward Markey of Massachusetts. The senator has served in the United States Senate since 2013 and was the U.S. representative for Massachusetts' 7th Congressional District from 1976 to 2013. Between the House and Senate, Senator Markey has served in Congress for more than 4 decades. Few have worked more tirelessly and with greater effort to end gun violence than Senator Markey.
Hello, everyone. I'm Senator Ed Markey of Massachusetts, and I'm proud to be here this evening giving the Brady Ambassador Action Award to a man I admire very much, my friend, Michael Douglas. It's a sad commentary on the world in which we live, where something as simple as the basic right to live free of gun violence needs an ambassador, but Michael Douglas is that man. The Brady Ambassador Action Award honors those who support Brady and gun violence prevention in their professional and personal capacities. And with the same unswerving commitment that Michael accords everything in his life, he supports this cause as someone who passionately believes in this country and passionately believes in the right to vote. Michael also campaigns for those who exemplify his beliefs, to which I can attest. But putting an end to gun violence is so much more for Michael. It's personal, and he will use every opportunity to encourage others to join that fight. I'm encouraged by the shift in rhetoric that I've observed after the recent mass shootings this year, whether it's Boulder or Atlanta or any other part of our country. Typically, we hear from some that it's too soon after the tragedy to speak about the next steps to end gun violence. Not this time. People are demanding that action be taken. And you can add my voice, as always, to the clamor for real change. Brady was renamed in honor of two individuals, Jim and Sarah Brady, who refused to see sides. They were truly agnostic. Red or blue, they just didn't care. They were relentless in pursuing anyone who would listen when explaining what their bill could accomplish. I'm praying that, like the Bradys, we can ignore what side you're supposed to be on and just talk about common sense solutions going forward. I'm hoping we can all be like our ambassador, Michael Douglas. It's not enough to talk about what's right. We need to do what's right. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to present the Brady Ambassador Action Award to Michael Douglas. No one works harder in the public interest in our country as a private citizen than Michael Douglas. No one deserves this honor more.
Wow. Thank you, Senator Markey, for that gracious introduction. And thank you to Brady for honoring me with the Brady Ambassador Action Award. I'm truly grateful for your kind words, Senator Markey. My relationship with you and Brady go back for a number of years, and I have actively spoken out in support of both. Senator, I can't say enough about my respect to you as a gun violence prevention champion, and you were one long before it became popular to acknowledge that fact. Someone who takes action when it could cost you your job is a rarity, and it's a trait I admire. And I think we've seen that when you take these principled stances, the voters reward you. People are hungry for change and for bold, progressive leadership, from the Green New Deal to bold gun violence prevention initiatives. You continuously show a fearless approach to doing what you know is right for our nation. Indeed, Massachusetts has become the state with the lowest gun-related deaths and costs according to a 2019 CDC ranking. Massachusetts has successfully reduced their gun death rate without banning firearms, except military-style assault weapons and high-capacity ammunition magazines greater than 10 rounds. Backing someone who fights the good fight against all odds and for causes like gun violence, global climate change, and healthcare will always inspire my support. And that same tenacity and sheer determination to do what's right and what has to be done goes for Jim and Sarah Brady and the organization I've supported for a long time. That need to end the senseless loss brought about by gun violence has also driven my work as a United Nations messenger of peace. And I've chosen to focus my attention there on nuclear and small arms proliferation. This battle is personal for so many across our country. Just last month, our nation was again forced to look at its failings as shootings claimed lives every day, while high-profile mass shootings like those in Atlanta, Denver, and Orange has us asking yet again how many lives must be lost before our country takes action. The time to make strides against gun violence is now, with a president who understands the need for change. President Biden has just unveiled a series of executive actions addressing the problems and has pushed the issue of gun violence to the forefront of his administration's priorities. And for more than 45 years, Brady's common sense approach to ending gun violence in our country has been one of the leaders in the movement. With the shootings of Jim Brady and the assassination attempt of President Reagan, the movement gained a powerhouse couple in Jim and Sarah. Wheeling through the halls of Congress, they did the impossible. And after 6 votes in 7 years, they were at President Clinton's side when we signed the Brady Law and established our nation's background check system. But that was only the beginning. Under Sarah's chairmanship, the organization grew in scope and approach, but always applying a research-based lens. And today, Brady, now named for Jim and Sarah, continues a robust approach of working across Congress, the courts, and communities to ensure there is always forward motion, no matter what impasses are met along the way. Curbing gun violence is a very personal battle for me. I was walking home one night in New York, and as usual would pass the Dakota where my friend John Lennon lived. December 8th, 1980 was different. You see, I came upon that scene shortly after my friend had been murdered. A dreamer with a world of music yet to be written. Lost to us forever because someone randomly decided to use a gun and take another's life. Multiply that loss by hundreds every day and thousands every year, when even one life lost is unacceptable. We all have to do what we can. We need to take action where we can. We need to speak. We need to vote. We need to dream. We need to do. So tonight, this is for John and all the dreamers and doers we've lost through the decades. Imagine no gun violence. It's easy if we try. Thank you.
Please welcome gun violence survivor and Vice President of Policy at Brady, Christian Haney.
Hello, I'm Christian Haney, Vice President of Policy at Brady and a survivor of gun violence. It is my distinct honor to introduce our musical guest this evening, Nathaniel Rateliff. In the fall of 2018, I had the opportunity to go to Colorado and work with Nathaniel, his bandmates, and his foundation, the Marigold Project, to draw attention to the issue of gun violence with a day of workshops, as well as a live rally and concert. Students and survivors directly impacted by gun violence spoke from a stage and shared their stories and their pain. It was a day I'll never forget. Our survivor community was given a platform, an opportunity, but also collective support from a crowd gathered to work together in order to make a difference in the world. It was an incredible experience to feel seen and supported in our work by musicians we admire so much. As a survivor activist, I can tell you firsthand, it is one thing to talk about issues one cares about. It's an entirely different thing to act upon them. Nathaniel, the Night Sweats, and Marigold are taking action and doing the hard work like so many joining us tonight. Brady is incredibly excited to work with them and to end the trauma that too many Americans experience every day because of gun violence. All of that being said, Nathaniel also happens to be an absolutely incredible musician. So without further ado, Nathaniel Rateliff.
I grew up in rural Missouri. We had guns and we hunted as a way to feed our family. I still own guns, and I believe the Second Amendment can exist alongside common sense legislation to keep us all safe. I've lived in Colorado now since 1998, and I've witnessed how gun violence devastates communities. I want to say how much I appreciate the people at Brady and everyone here tonight. You have dedicated your lives to making this country safer, and I appreciate your sacrifice of time. I'm grateful for you and your leadership and your heart. I see you, I hear you, and I won't stop fighting alongside you. Thank you so much for asking me to join you tonight.
I'll come back to you, head, strong-willed tower to devour any. Since you ain't, but since you don't, you'll ram and you think you're clever. Well, it's severed, you just fill the air with words you know. Well, I got all this and nothing too. I carry you anywhere you want me to go. You think I know this, but I never do. Sometimes you're just too tired to make it on. Too much time spent alone, trying to pull yourself under. Is that thunder or the sense that someone calls your name? I went back from you all wee hours. Did that coward where you corrected everything I'd say. You really found me out, so you used to think too much pain and doubt in one little space. We got all this and nothing too. I'd carry you anywhere you want me to go. You think I know this, but I never do. Sometimes you're just too tired to make it on. Don't come back and please don't lie to me. I don't say it's all or nothing, baby. I don't come back and please don't lie to me. I don't say it's all or nothing, baby. I don't come back and please don't lie to me. Please don't say it's all or nothing, baby.
Please welcome leadership members of Brady's Youth Initiative, Team Enough.
Hi, my name is Alea Eastman.
And I'm Stephen Abrams.
Together, we are the managing leaders of Brady's student project, Team Enough. Gun violence has affected my family twice. First, my uncle Patrick Edwards was murdered in Brooklyn, New York, and in February of 2018, a shooter entered my Holocaust history class at my high school in Parkland, Florida. The perpetrator began shooting my classmates in cold blood. I'm a first-generation American, and sadly, this is my American story. But just like students across the country, I found my voice that day. I have control of my story and the change that I will make. Brady and Team Enough is home for me because they support our mission to lift those who have a story to tell and passion to make change.
Black and brown, gay or straight, Jewish, Muslim, Team Enough is a minority-led youth organization that makes sure that all youth across this country have a seat at the table. Team Enough helped me find my voice 3 years ago, and now I am the national chapter coordinator for all of our grassroots efforts across this country. We are in cities, in states like in the Midwest, places like Kentucky and Minnesota, and we are growing rapidly in big cities as well, like New York and Los Angeles. We are really excited about the future of Team Enough, and we are excited that we're continuing to be able to give a platform and a voice to young people across this country, and that's what keeps me going.
Hi, my name is Rithika Iyer.
And my name is Ivan Garcia.
And we lead Team Enough's largest program, the Lobbying Collective.
The Lobby Collective is a highly competitive program that empowers some of our nation's most talented young leaders through a master's level course on driving change within the halls of power.
We have teams in DC and states like California, Florida, and Virginia, each one demanding better for America's young people. To be honest, it can get kind of heated. We've had members of Congress raise their voices at us for calling out dirty politics, but we get results. Our members have testified in both the House and the Senate.
And Team Enough was one of only a handful of groups asked to testify at the hearing for Brett Kavanaugh's nomination to the Supreme Court. We demanded change and have gotten it at city councils like San Diego and Tampa's Hillsborough County. And we've gotten it in state legislators too.
Did we mention that we're only just a bunch of students and we've only been doing this work for 3 years? Wait until you see what we do next.
We can use all the support we can get to fund our programs. Bet on us, because we are the generation that will end gun violence.
Please welcome back the president of Brady, Kris Brown.
You better believe I would bet on them. Anyone who has been in a room with Team Enough members or heard them speak at events that would intimidate many a more seasoned speaker knows that they have the power of conviction. As a society, we have a great deal to answer for to those who will inherit the world we created. We've just heard from a generation that grew up experiencing lockdown drills, active shooter drills, and, God help us, actual mass murders. They are speaking for themselves because many feel, and rightfully so, that we are too willing to play by the rules in a game where the cards are stacked against them. Remember, more than 100 a day. That's why we're here tonight. It's why me and the Brady team work 14-hour days. It's why every honoree devotes time they could spend on other happier things. Those of you watching from home tonight know what it's like to see something you desperately want to make better and feel like it's just beyond your fingertips. Well, the time is now. The time is tonight. Your passion, your time, your talent, and your treasure are desperately needed to make a country in which we can all safely live. It's right there. It's in our hands. It's that formerly just barely flickering light that's shining stronger. You've seen throughout this event a number you can text to donate. Your gift will empower another student voice. Your gift will spread the message of safe storage all across this country. It will fund a court case so a family finds justice and bad actors are held responsible. It will help cities and states and gradually our nation learn how to shut down the flow of guns into our communities. Your donations will not only help heal, they will help end the unthinkable cycle of violence that only America experiences. Your donation will say, enough, this ends today. Please text GIVE to 877-877 right now. Thank you for all your support of Brady and your work for a better tomorrow. It's now my pleasure to introduce a man that has channeled great personal anguish into the highest level of advocacy, Fred Guttenberg. Fred lost his beloved daughter, Jamie, in the mass shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High in Parkland, Florida, on February 14th, 2018. An event that, as a mother, I cannot begin to comprehend. Some would retreat and pull inward to grieve and suffer after experiencing the loss of a child. Some, including those here tonight, choose to push past the pain and say never again, not on my watch. And that's Fred. His powerful storytelling and demands for action have cut through the thoughts and prayers rhetoric that have glossed over our nation's most painful moments. Some of the nation's most powerful figures can't quite seem to look him in the eye when he demands answers. He defines champion, and I'm proud to call him friend. Please welcome Fred Guttenberg, who will present the Brady Corporate Action Award to another fearless leader working to end the public health crisis that defines our country, gun violence.
Behind me is my daughter Jamie's favorite slogan, dreams and dedication are a powerful combination. I have a dream of ending the gun violence epidemic in this country, and I am dedicating the rest of my life to doing that. With that, thank you so much for the heartfelt introduction, Kris. I'm proud to count you as a friend and so pleased that Brady exists, fighting the good fight for more than 47 years to make days like February 14th, 2018, one of the last of its kind in American history. It is now my honor to introduce Michael Dowling, President and CEO of Northwell Health. My respect and admiration for Michael began long before the leadership that he has shown by directing Northwell Health to pursue a public health approach for gun safety. It actually began late in 2017 in hospice. My brother, also Michael, Dr. Michael Guttenberg, was the director of Northwell Health Emergency Services until he passed away in October of 2017 from cancer related to his service on 9/11. Mr. Dowling visited my brother and our family in hospice, and I will never forget the love and the support from him and all of Northwell at that time. Sadly, my connection to Northwell should not have continued beyond this, but it did, as my daughter Jamie was murdered 4 months later on February 14th, 2018 in the Parkland school shooting. Following her murder, my connection to Mr. Dowling and Northwell continued through discussions on how to do more to address gun safety. As Michael Dowling is known to do because he is a forward-looking leader, he directed Northwell Health to show national leadership on dealing with gun violence, and what they are doing now should serve as a model for all healthcare systems. My hope is this action by Northwell will get the attention of our current administration as we work together to solve gun violence through a public health approach. Michael, thank you from the bottom of my heart for the support you have shown my family and for the leadership that you have shown the nation. It is my honor to present you with the Brady Corporate Action Award this evening. Congratulations, my friend.
Thank you, Fred, for those wonderful words and this beautiful introduction. And I thank you so much for your extraordinary advocacy over all of these years. Fred, as you know, I got to know your brother quite well. He was medical director of our EMS division and an extraordinary individual who on 9/11, unfortunately, because of his work there, came down with pancreatic cancer. So again, Fred, special thanks to you for everything you've done and to your family. Also, of course, I want to say a special thank you to Brady. Brady, you have done extraordinary work over all of these years in promoting the concept of prevention of gun violence and taking action in Washington and around the country. You have been an inspiration to so many people, including those of us here at Northwell. We have learned from you, and we continue to learn from you. And I also want to say a special thanks to all of the other honorees, unique group of individuals whose combined effort is absolutely going to make a difference in promoting the idea of gun safety and dealing with the epidemic of gun violence. I believe that we in healthcare have a special obligation and a special responsibility. This is, after all, a public health crisis. We are witness to the trauma, to the physical and emotional anguish, pain, and distress that results from the epidemic of gun violence. It's a problem, of course, and unfortunately, it's getting bigger, as we have seen recently with the increasing gun ownership during the past year, during the COVID year, and of course, what we've witnessed very recently in Boulder, Colorado, and in Atlanta. So we here at Northwell have been trying to do our part. We have been advocating in the community, promoting education in the community. We've been holding major national gun violence prevention forums. We've been doing research funded by NIH. And we have been urgently involved with and advocating that other healthcare leadership across the country use their influence to get engaged in a major way to promote gun safety and deal with this epidemic. As I said a few minutes ago, this is an obligation we all have. Every healthcare leader all across the United States should take this on as a leading issue. If we don't take it on in conjunction with Brady and many others, then I think we're neglecting part of our duty. So we're going to continue doing our work. We must stay focused. We must be innovative. We must be resilient. This is a long battle. It's been going on for a long time. But I am absolutely convinced that given all of the people that are now involved, and given the new people who are getting involved, that we will make a dent in this issue. We have to be optimistic. We are, as a nation, better than this. We should not be known as a country that is famous for the extent of gun violence that exists. This is not who we are. We can make a better community. We can build a better future. We can leave something better for our children. So again, I am honored to accept this award. I want to thank you. But more importantly, I want to thank you, Brady, for everything that you do, everything you have done, everything I know you will do. And if we all work together in unison, committed, focused, optimistic, and resilient, we will, at the end of the day, win against this epidemic. There can be no other choice. So again, thank you so much. I much appreciate it. Thank you.
Congratulations, Michael, and thank you to both you and Northwell for your actions to end America's gun violence epidemic. And now here to present our Congressional Action Award this evening is an American leader who needs no introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, Secretary Hillary Rodham Clinton.
40 years ago, on March 30th, 1981, President Ronald Reagan, Press Secretary Jim Brady, DC Police Officer Thomas Delhanty, and Secret Service man Timothy McCarthy were shot by someone who never should have been able to buy a gun in the first place. Jim Brady suffered a grievous head wound and wasn't expected to survive. But he did. And along with his indomitable wife, Sarah, he went on to change the course of history. Jim and Sarah Brady worked tirelessly across party lines to rally support for the Brady Law. I still remember how proud my husband was the day he signed this life-saving piece of legislation, which established America's background check system and has to date prevented the sale of nearly 4 million firearms to prohibited purchasers since taking effect. Tonight's awards are named in the honor of Jim and Sarah, the Brady Action Awards, and I could not be happier to present the Congressional Action Award to someone who embodies their courage and their conviction that saving lives should not be a partisan issue. Representative Lucy McBath of Georgia. Like Jim and Sarah, Lucy brings a deeply personal perspective to this fight. Her beloved son, Jordan, was killed in a senseless act of gun violence in 2012. She endured every parent's worst nightmare. But despite her grief, she channeled her personal pain into public action. She traveled the country speaking out for common sense gun laws. After the horrific shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, Lucy decided to run for office, and she won. From the moment she was sworn into Congress, Lucy McBath hit the ground running. She's tackled health care, small business issues, racial justice, education, support for veterans, and of course, gun violence. And I'm thrilled to say she's just getting started. So thank you, my dear friend. Thank you, Lucy, on behalf of this wonderful organization. And thank you on behalf of the millions and millions of people who stand with you, who know that your mission is a righteous one. It is my deep honor to present you with the Brady Congressional Action Award.
Good evening. I want to thank all of you here at the Brady Action Awards for this honor. I want to thank Kris Brown and the entire team at Brady United for the work that you do to protect our children and our families. And I want to thank Secretary Clinton. Had it not been for your friendship and guidance, had it not been for the invitation to be part of your campaign as a mother of the movement, had it not been for the doors that you broke down and the ceilings that you shattered, my life and the life of women across America would simply not be the same. As a policymaker, as a mentor, and as a mother, I am so grateful for your role as a woman in this world and for what you continue to mean to this nation. My own story of motherhood starts like that of many women in America. For many years, I struggled to get pregnant, and I wasn't sure I was ever going to be able to have a child. Finally, the birth of my son Jordan was a miracle for me and my growing family. But on Black Friday in 2012, Jordan was sitting in the back seat of a friend's car when a man pulled up next to them, complained about the loud music that they were playing, racially profiled them, and killed my son. I thought I had done everything right as a mother. Yet, I felt that deep sense of injustice. For months, I prayed out to God, how could this happen to me, to my family, and to my son Jordan? And in those prayers, I found the strength to forgive my son's killer. He may have taken Jordan's life, but he could never take his legacy. This would not and could never be the end of Jordan's story. Now here we are again after more mass shootings, after more communities have been ripped apart, asking the same questions that we asked after 20 first graders were gunned down inside Sandy Hook Elementary School. After 9 members of Mother Emanuel AME Church were gunned down in Bible study. After the tragedy at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. And of recent, Boulder, Colorado, and now my hometown of Atlanta, Georgia. How, after all of this time, after all the lives that we've lost, can politicians refuse to act on legislation that a vast majority of American people support? Legislation that will save the lives of friends, parents, and our children. Children like my own son. Every single time there's a shooting in this nation, Americans everywhere are glued to the news in horror and fear. Fear that the images they see of students streaming out of the school with their hands in the air, of police tape surrounding places of worship, of chalk outlines in their own backyards, will one day bring the same pain that it has brought me, brought many of us. And every single time those shootings are followed by endless platitudes from politicians, sending thoughts and prayers while refusing to act. To all those offering empty words and hollow gestures, I say that faith without works is dead. Faith without action does nothing to protect our children against the lockdown drills that they are forced to endure in their classroom. Does nothing to fight the fear of families across the country terrified that they'll send their children off to school and never get to say, I love you again. We have a moral responsibility, a mandate to do what is right to keep our families whole and to spare our communities the pain the gun violence brings. Our strength as a nation has always been our ability to come together to address America's greatest challenges. And that is the opportunity that we have in this very moment. And when we look back at this time in years to come, I pray we can all take pride in our response. Take pride in eradicating gun violence. Thank you again for honoring me tonight with the Congressional Action Award. I truly am so humbled, and I'll continue to fight as hard as I can on your behalf. God bless.
And now, please welcome Joseph L. Falk.
Good evening. My name is Joe Falk, and I'm proud to sponsor this portion of the Brady Action Awards ceremony. And I'm honored to introduce a true American hero, Speaker Nancy Pelosi. She will present this evening's Brady Ambassador Action Award. The award honors those who support Brady and gun violence prevention in their professional and personal capacities. I'm an activist and believe in the greater good of community. My faith teaches that when we see wrong, we're commanded to act. When we see broken, we seek to fix it. Tikkun olam, to repair the world. Sometimes advocacy requires time, sometimes treasure. Usually the fight is long, with setbacks along the way, but failure is never an option. Today's problem is the gun violence. The solution is common sense gun control. Now is the time to repair. That's why I'm honored to introduce Speaker Nancy Pelosi. I began to admire the Speaker when she was first installed as a Congresswoman in 1987. She grabbed the microphone and spoke to the urgent need to help Americans dying of AIDS, then a mysterious disease. During her tenure, she has continued to fight for what is right, to propose and pass legislation to help those in need, to repair what is broken, tikkun olam. Her advocacy is legendary on women's rights, minority rights, LGBT rights, and voting rights, and immigration reform and paycheck fairness. and COVID relief. So who better to take the lead in passing national legislation addressing the tragedy of gun violence than our speaker? And who better to present this award? A long time from now, when the history is written, she will be remembered in heroic terms, for she indeed has led the fight to repair our world. Tikkun Olam. I present to you my hero, Nancy Pelosi.
Thank you, Joe Falk, my dear friend, whom I admire so much, for that kind introduction. As House Speaker, it is my honor to convey the greetings of the House of Representatives to advocates and leaders at the 2021 Brady Action Awards. Thank you to Brady President Kris Brown, a lifelong leader in the fight to end gun violence, from helping pass the Brady bill to serving as president of Brady today. Let me also salute Brady, California President Mattie Scott. Mattie is a force of nature whose courage to turn her agony over the loss of her son George into decades-long action to end gun violence is an inspiration to all. It was my honor to name Mattie to the Electoral College to vote for Joe Biden for president. Joe Biden, a champion in the fight against gun violence. It is always a great honor to join the leaders of Brady, who every day march forward with the mission of Jim and Sarah Brady to end the gun violence crisis. Some of you have heard, I know Kris Brown again and again, and heard the story of when years ago, Democrats were on the House floor trying to pass the Brady bill. Jim and Sarah were there, and we were all in awe of them and their partnership. After just having lost the vote on the rule, I went over to Jim Brady and said, "We've all been working very hard. We came over to whip this bill and win, and to pay our respects to you." Well, having just lost the vote, he said, "Well, you've accomplished at least one of those things." Jim and Sarah, in the true Brady spirit, would never take no for an answer. Their relentless, persistent, dissatisfied advocacy made passage of the Brady bill possible, and further change possible as well, just as the leadership of Brady is doing today. Thanks to your work, gun violence prevention is front and center of the national agenda. Because of your advocacy, earlier this month, the White House took strong executive actions that will save lives. And in March, the House passed H.R. 8 and H.R. 1446, our common sense, effective, bipartisan background checks bills. Now we know what must be done. These bills must be passed by the Senate and signed into law. But Congress can only be successful with our inside maneuvering, with your outside organizing, which is why I'm so pleased to join Brady in honoring a true ambassador for action who was leading the charge for progress, Bryan Cranston. Bryan is a great messenger, using his platform to shine a light on the gun violence crisis in America. He is a great mobilizer, bringing together coalitions for change and marshaling resources for action. And Bryan is making a difference, bringing us closer to ending the epidemic so that every family and every community can live free from gun violence. Bryan, thank you for your outstanding advocacy to build a brighter, safer future for all. Congratulations on this well-deserved recognition, and thank you for your leadership.
Thank you, Speaker Pelosi, for that very complimentary introduction. It's funny, but our roles are becoming a little intertwined. At Brady's last gala, I was privileged to introduce you as an honoree. And also thank you to Brady as well, to be awarded with this Ambassador Action Award at this event where so many have spent their lives working to end our gun violence epidemic is truly an honor. Thank you. And I called it what it is. It's an epidemic. Gun violence is a public health crisis in our country. It doesn't respect age, religion, color, where you live, or how you even live. We've seen congregants struck down in houses of worship. communities of color living in areas many would consider war zones, family members unintentionally shot by easily accessible firearms, and so many other instances of indiscriminate toll of gun violence. Perhaps the most shocking thing about gun violence in America is the lack of understanding concerning the issue. Some of that is due to the misinformation that is spread for decades by the gun lobby, trying to maintain industry profits. And some of that is due to what's typically covered by the media and what isn't. And we also have not funded the CDC to fully research the issue for 24 years. Unfortunately, that changed in December of 2019. But each year, on average, 448 people die in a mass shooting. But were you aware that we lose 64 lives on average per day to gun suicide? 64 a day, more than 23,000 a year. America's deadliest mass shootings are the ones we don't even talk about. Safe storage is the answer. Now, sure, we need to keep guns out of the hands of those who want to do harm to others. But for those of us who have guns in our homes, we need to store them safely so moments of crisis are less likely to end in tragedy. We need to have conversations about guns and gun violence. Not knowing the facts is dangerous in any epidemic, and something we especially have seen the past year. But there is no vaccine for gun violence. It's going to require open discussions, understanding the facts, and embracing common sense solutions. It's going to require, as they say at Brady, taking action, not sides, because we all have everything to gain by working together. Speaker Pelosi, Brady President Kris Brown, my fellow honorees, and everyone watching who are also fighting the fight, I am very, very proud to count myself as a fellow warrior and very honored to receive this tonight. Thank you. Good night.
Please welcome philanthropist, technology entrepreneur, and chairman of the David Bonnet Foundation, David Bonnet.
Good evening, everyone. I am David Bonnet, chairman of the David Bonnet Foundation. For over 20 years, the Bonnet Foundation has been passionately committed to fighting the epidemic of gun violence, and we're thrilled to sponsor this year's Brady National Action Award. The National Action Award honors those who make their voice heard, resulting in national impact, truly an embodiment of Brady's "Take action, not sides" mantra. It also reminds me of words I spoke 5 years ago when I was honored at this same event. The only chance we have of defeating gun violence is a greater level of personal involvement and civic engagement. It is necessary now more than ever that those with the power to move our nation towards social good use their voice and wield that power to engage and inspire others to be part of making a better tomorrow a reality. I am honored to introduce the incomparable Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who will present this evening's National Action Award to Stacey Abrams. It's fitting that one of the most decorated women in American television history and a recipient of Time Magazine's 100 Most Influential People presents this honor to Ms. Abrams. Julia unabashedly speaks out on behalf of her beliefs and by sheer determination works to make our country a better place. It's that same indomitable will to bring about change that is part of Brady's DNA, as well as the very core of this evening's National Action honoree, Stacey Abrams. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Ms. Julia Louis-Dreyfus, one-time Madam President on our TV screens, but always a shining star in the American entertainment industry.
Throughout the evening, we've been honoring men and women who share Brady's vision of an America free from gun violence. They've all seen important legislation tied up on both the national and state level. They've all seen the disproportionate impact of gun violence on our communities of color. And they have all been moved to take action. And nobody takes action quite like our final honoree, Stacey Abrams. Stacey is not afraid to take action at the local, state, and national level. In fact, she has taken so much action that I think it's fair to say she is a real-life action hero. Following her campaign for governor in 2018, Stacey could have taken a step back, printed up some clever fundraising letters, started a podcast, and started fielding lucrative offers from a bunch of private lobbying firms. But not Stacey. No, no. On the very night that she ended her gubernatorial campaign, she announced the formation of Fair Fight, going all in to address the inequities in her home state of Georgia by bringing new voters and activists, especially those from disenfranchised communities, into the democratic process. And did it work? You bet your ass it did. President Joe Biden, Senator Raphael Warnock, Senator John Ossoff. I don't think we'd be saying those beautiful words without Stacey Abrams. Through Fair Fight, Stacey helped raise millions for the recent Senate elections in Georgia. Fair Fight registered over 800,000 new voters ahead of the general election, which was absolutely the key to securing Joe Biden the White House and electing a Democratic Senate with an agenda that includes tackling America's gun violence epidemic head on. Now, I know there's only one Stacey Abrams, but the truth is that we could use a lot more Stacey wannabes taking action all over the country. From her early political and organizing work to her years in the Georgia General Assembly to her current status as Julia Louis-Dreyfus's all-time hero. Stacey has never shied away from difficult conversations and hard truths. She has stood firmly for what she believes in while always being ready to work with any partners, including those across the aisle, to put the interests of Georgians first. Stacey herself best sums up her take action, not sides approach with this statement to Jason Kander, then Secretary of State of Missouri. I'm not trying to get Catholics to become Baptists. I'm just trying to get Baptists to go to church. Hell, she makes me want to go to church. Our entire nation benefits from her leadership, and God knows we need more leaders like Stacey. So I am just unbelievably proud to give the National Action Award to Stacey Abrams, or for those of you familiar with her romantic suspense novels, Selena Montgomery, in recognition of her work to safeguard and expand our democracy, giving a voice to all, especially those who have had no voice for far too long. Ladies and gentlemen, Stacey Abrams.
Greetings to all the attendees of the 2021 Brady Action Awards Gala. And thank you, Julia, for your kind words and for using your platform to help advance the fight for equal justice for all. I am honored to receive the Brady National Action Award. This award and its namesake reflect the obligation to engage on one of the most vital issues of our time and to pursue justice regardless of opposition. I remember James Brady, and in a moment when partisanship is cleaving peopleship, I look to his legacy as one that bridged political ideology in favor of defending the vulnerable. This organization continues to boldly demand a society where we do not fear visiting our houses of worship, learning in our schools, shopping in our stores, and soon spending time with our friends. We have seen progress at the state and local levels where more are willing to risk election to speak out about the conviction that the right to bear arms comes with inherent and fundamental responsibilities. And with the recent actions of President Joe Biden, we will continue to see our elected leaders listening to the will and the desperate cries of the people to help keep us safe. So thank you for continuing to push for common sense gun laws, enforcement of current laws, closing dangerous loopholes, and advocating for gun safety and responsibility. America contends with more gun violence than any country in the world, but we are a better people than our laws reflect. We see this when we elect leaders like Senator Chris Murphy or Representative Lucy McBath. When Republican Senator Pat Toomey and Democratic Senator Chris Coons can work together for gun safety. We see it. Our vote is a critical power. When we bring more people into the fold of our democratic process, we all win. But our fight is far from over, and the battle to protect our right to elect leaders who reflect our values sadly continues. Because just as our fight for access to the ballot box remains to be won, so too does the fight for meaningful gun reform. Ending gun violence requires us to address the deterioration in democracy and the divisions in our communities. Because when our elected officials refuse to take action on what is killing their constituents, when forward-thinking legislators in the House are passing common sense legislation that cannot even make it to the floor of the Senate, and when Black and brown communities most impacted by gun violence are unequally represented and have their power diminished by voter suppression, then it is our responsibility to take action. So I ask you all to join the fight for free and fair elections so we can elect those who see our calls for change as right and good. We can win the fight against gun violence, so let's get it done. Thank you.
Please welcome back Nathaniel Rateliff.
For a moment I can wait to see it fall apart. Every empty bed in every city I've been. I sit and contemplate all the moments she's had. Time stands in a duo, and I stand for you. Would Thatcher used to say, find the love that you can wait for, or do you feast upon the weak and weary of heart? I can take the pain, but I can't take all the hatred, laziness in mine, and simplest of thoughts. Are you just too old, or too young to carry? Time stands in a duo, and I stand for you. And now you're pouring out your hate and every difference you found, and you won't even listen to reason at all. Not questioning your faith, well, far be it from me, but you would speak of love while tying one's hands. Are you just too old, or too young to carry? Time stands in the duo, I stand for you. Are you just too old, or too young to carry? Time stands in a duo, I stand for you. Now lean and use your weight, that's what the shoulder's made for. Carry all the dead and children from here. Curses on the men and the greed that seems to plague them. I can raise my hands, so I'm raising my voice. Are you just too old, or too young to carry? Time stands in a duo, I stand for you. Are you just too old, or too young to carry? Time stands in a duo, I stand for you. Time stands in a duo, I stand for you. Time stands in a duo, I stand for you.
Thank you, Nathaniel. Also, a warm thank you to our presenters this evening and congratulations to our awardees. Now, before we leave, Brady and I ask you all to remember why we gathered today and to think about those we will lose tomorrow. We need your strength, your courage, your ideas, your efforts, your action, and your financial support to bring an end to gun violence. We know you can do it. It's truly in our hands. Good evening to all.